Hey there. So someone asked me about a year ago to do a little video to show how I make macarons. Obviously I'm not a professional, but I decided to actually just go ahead and show you guys how to make some macarons. These are pumpkin pie macarons just in time for fall. Okay, so to start off, to make macarons, I'm doing it with a hand mixer, not a stand mixer, just so that anyone can do it. Yes, they're fiddly, but they're really not that much to be afraid of. So feel free to try, and if you mess up, that's fine. You messed up. You'll need 3 egg whites. Make sure they're room temperature. Temperature is actually about the most crucial thing for this, because if they're cold, they just don't set up right. But anyway, if you've never separated an egg white, it's really easy. All you have to do is just kind of balance the egg white. So here, I'll show you with my last egg. I have addition, not just dropping it. So kind of get a nice even crack and make sure none of the yolk gets in the bowl. But when they're room temperature, they kind of fall out a little bit more easily. But you just sort of gently do that side to side until there's no more egg white. You can save the yolk if you want. If you're making custard later, that's what you need the yolks. I don't need to save the yolk, so I'm just gonna set it aside. Wash my hands again. When it comes to prepping your dry ingredients, I don't usually sift things. I know you're supposed to, I just don't. Absolutely sift this, because it's 1.5 cups of powdered sugar and 1.5 cups of ground almonds. And if you don't sift it, it gets really clumpy. And when you make macarons, you need all the egg whites to be really light and fluffy. And then when you're gently folding in the dries, if it's not, sifted, it just gets clumpy and it breaks down all the air and your macarons won't rise. So, yeah. Also, you'll need, let's see, 1/4 cup and an 1/8 cup of white sugar and just a pinch of salt. Okay, as far as like special tools, like I said, I'm not going to use the stand mixer. I'm just going to use my hand mixer. You do need a whisk attachment for your hand mixer. I'm fairly certain I just got this at a grocery store like Kroger or something. It's not fancy. It's, it has its limits. Also, a tool that I use, this one is actually really specific to macarons. It's a Silpat, which is amazing for baking. If you don't have Silpats, you should get them because they're awesome. This one's specifically for macarons, and they have different sizes. There's like a solid ring and a couple dotted rings in case, like, for the different sizes that you want to make. I just got it online, probably Amazon. But yeah, this has been a lifesaver because getting consistency in the size of your shells really helps with just the overall appearance. Also, a thing to think about, I guess before you start the whole process, think about what flavor pairings you want, because not all things can be made into macaron fillings, and certain things work better than others. Like when you're making a ganache, make sure you don't make it too hard or else it'll be really hard to eat. Making, things that are like jellies or like jelly fillings, make sure you have the consistency of gelatin right. I don't like messing with gelatin much because I'm not good at it. A lot of times I'll do things that are cream cheese based because I just enjoy the taste and consistency of them. Today, in hopes that the fall temperatures will soon arrive to the south, I'm making pumpkin spice-ish macarons. So what I put a little bit of clove and a little bit of cinnamon into the shell, into the dry ingredients to make the shell. And then I'm gonna make a pumpkin cream cheese, probably with some allspice filling, and make that so it's really nice pipeable consistency. Speaking of piping, normally I use piping bags. I'm all out, but I want to show you it's really easy to use, just Ziploc bags, plastic resealable bags. But yeah. Okay, to start, I just put all 3 egg whites into the bowl, and there's also just a little pinch of salt in there. And the next step is to just mix until they get really light and fluffy. Okay, so once you can start sort of seeing shapes in the egg whites all foamed up, you know it's time to add your sugar. And like I said, this is a 1/4 cup plus an 1/8 cup, which is 1/4 cup and 2 tablespoons. What you'll do is you'll just very gradually add the sugar, and you're gonna notice the meringue, it's gonna get really like glossy looking and kind of sticky. Okay, so as you can see, it kind of stood up on its own. You're getting this little curly Q on the end here. That means that they are whipped enough. You don't want to over whip them either because then they'll fall flat. So this is also where if you were putting in like peppermint extract or almond extract, which I do sometimes, this is where I do it. Also, if you're adding any coloring. I don't want any coloring in these this time. But yeah, so next you'll need a good spatula. That is a spatula. And just very gently fold in your mix. I'm sure there's people who actually like make these professionally who are crying at the way I do this, but I'm not a professional chef, and I just do these because I enjoy making them. And generally speaking, if you are not selling your treats and people see them, they were never going to be like, oh, look at all these imperfections. This is terrible. This is the worst thing ever. They're going to go, oh, look, treats. So, you know, don't be afraid to make things. Don't be afraid to mess up. If you're trying a new recipe, definitely test it out on friends that you trust first, so they can tell you, hey, this maybe needs less of blank ingredient and more of this, or oh my gosh, this is terrible. Please don't ever make this again. You know, they won't be mean about it, hopefully, but just get people who can maybe also help you think about different flavors to try, or give you fun ideas that'll, you know, inspire you, not break you down. But yeah, so anyway, I'm trying not to overmix this, but I also don't want any lumps of flour, like dry flour, still in there, and powdered sugar, obviously. Okay, that is looking good-ish. It's getting there. Okay. Okay. And my oven is preheating to 500 degrees, which always terrifies me because that's such a high temperature. I don't normally bake at that high of a temperature. But anyway, I'm going to pipe these and get that ready. Okay, so here's my resealable bag full of mix. It always takes me a couple to like really get down how I want to pipe them out. Anyway, so while my oven is preheating and I'm piping these out, you have to let them sit and develop a skin over the top of them, and that usually takes about 15 minutes, sometimes longer depending on how wet your mixture is or how thick it is or whatever. The skin on it, it sounds kind of weird to say, I'm a little bit gross, I'm not a huge fan of the term, but it's applicable because once you like gently tap it with your fingertip, it doesn't stick to your finger and come away. And it's so important to have that because otherwise, so on a macaron, one of the things that is most characteristic of them is this like crinkly little foot they get around the base. And the way they get that is because when they're baking, you know, the skin holds tight and it kind of stands up so the wet ingredients underneath get crinkly. But yeah, so that's like, you know, the thing that makes it a macaron and not just like a weird meringue cookie. So make sure you give it time to set up properly. And again, these aren't super consistent, but I'm trying to stick within the circles a bit. Note that when you make these, they will spread out a little bit. So just don't like make them huge and then be like, oh my gosh, why are they spreading and sticking to each other and ruining everything? Definitely speaking from experience. Also, macarons really are kind of fiddly. Like, yeah, you can throw them together fairly quick and all that, but I don't know, like I've made them to where the shells, like the tops of them, just completely come apart from the bottom, and I'm like, everything I did was literally the exact same as the last time I made it. I don't know why this time was all of a sudden different. But remember, it's just baking. Yes, I have cried over cupcakes. Yes, I have gotten very stressed out over things that really don't deserve my anxiety. But you know, it's as much a reminder to myself as anybody that if and when they do fail, it's okay. You can, you know, it's just a learning experience, trying to figure out, okay, what did I do differently? What did I do wrong? How can I make this better? But yeah, like if you're baking and it's stressing you out, maybe don't be baking for a minute. Do a different craft or color or something. I don't know. Baking is something I enjoy doing because, like, I don't even like eating the things I make a whole lot. I love giving them to people and sending them out. I make cookies a lot. I do molasses cookies. I'll actually be making molasses cookies later today. My favorite is a browned butter toffee chocolate chunk. It's very good. But yeah, I just like making stuff for people. And people are like, oh, why did you do this? I'm like, I actually like bringing gifts to our vet or my tattoo shop. Just, I don't really, you know, I don't feel like I'm good at a whole lot of things. So when there's something I do that people can enjoy, it just makes my day to be able to share with people. And I'm really sorry if I'm stressing anyone out with my staying in a row baking here. Sort of like how I clean a house. I start in one room and then like focus on 18 other things and then go back to that room. Which, you know, you don't need to know. But honestly, if you're watching this far at this point, I figure you don't really care. Sorry for rambling. Also, if there's anything you guys want me to bake and for some reason make another video of it, let me know because I've got enough free time to do it. Someone actually asked me to make a video on how I make macarons like a year ago. So sorry it's taking me this long, but we moved house. So anyway, okay, so I'm gonna let those sit for a little while and then I'll come back to them. So yeah, they're uneven, it's okay. It'll all be fine. But yeah, so I'll see you in a little while. Okay, so while I was waiting for the macarons to set up, I decided to wash some dishes and go ahead and get the filling done. Yeah, just a quick tip for you guys. When you're baking, for sure clean as you go because it makes it way less stressful when at the end you don't have like a massive pile of dishes in the sink. That is good. Cool. So I did cream cheese, pumpkin puree, just like legit can of pumpkin. And also I discovered I have pumpkin pie spice, which is delightful. So I went ahead and went with that and just a little bit of powdered sugar to hold it all together. And yeah, so it's just a nice little light pumpkin-y filling. Also, these should be about set now. Let's see, which one can you actually see? Just pull these forward. I pulled them away from the oven so they wouldn't get any ambient heat coming as the oven preheats. So, all right, so you see how I tap it and my fingers are clean? Just wash my hands, by the way, don't worry. That means that they have the skin on them, so they're all set to go in the oven. Exciting. Okay, so while those are in the oven, I went ahead and bagged up my filling. I'm gonna let it cool just so it's nice and firm and pipeable while the macarons are baking and then cooling. They have to be fully cool before you even take them off the silpat, and because like otherwise they'll just split. But yeah, so I'm gonna, what I do is I put them in the oven for 7 minutes, and then I open the oven to let all the steam out, and then I close the oven and I do it for another 7. That's just how I found works best. I'm sure there's a good scientific reason why that helps me. I think it's just because it helps air it out, makes them nice and crispy. There are certain things that you never want to open the oven. Like if you're ever making eclairs, which is a choux pastry, which is like a cooked flour dough pastry, it's weird. Don't ever open the oven while you're baking it, because all the steam comes out, and that's actually how they puff up and they get that lovely crispy outside and that nice like soft hollow inside, is because the steam just kind of puffs them up. So don't ever open up the oven if you're making choux pastries, like choux balls and stuff. Also, remember to taste your food as you go if you're able to. Like sometimes I make things with like pork in them or something, so I can't eat them. I'm like, I hope this tastes good, because I wasn't able to try it. But always remember to taste your food, because if you don't like it, no one else is going to, for sure. And also you can kind of tell like, maybe this needs more of this spice, or maybe it needs something else. So just a quick reminder, always taste your food as you go. Okay, so I've opened the oven for the first, 7 minutes, and you can see how they're starting to get that crinkly little foot. Now they've dried out a little bit to let all the steam out. They're just gonna firm up a little bit more, and in about 5 minutes I'm gonna take them out and let them cool, and I'm gonna put the other batch in. It's very cool to see, like if you ever just are baking and have time to just sit and watch your stuff bake, it's really neat seeing how much of a difference there can be between like minute 4 and minute 7 when you're baking stuff. So you can just see them start to stand up and puff up, and it's really oddly satisfying if you're into that sort of thing, sort of like people who like watching candles melt / me. So yeah, just wanted to show you the progress on that. So because I want to be honest with you guys, remember I was talking about baking disasters? Yeah. So like these friends back here, they're like totally caught around the edges and stuff. So I misspoke earlier when I said 7 minutes, open the door, 7 more minutes. It's like 5 minutes, open the door, close it for like 2 more minutes, for a total of 7. Remember, it's been more than a year since I've made these. So yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, I just want to show you, baking disasters happen all the time. So now I'm watching the other half like a hawk, and yeah, it'll be totally fine. Trust your nose too. I don't have a great sense of smell, which is bad sometimes, but all of a sudden I was like, something kind of, oh, darn it. So anyway, that's what happens, and it's totally fine. See, that's so much better. They're supposed to kind of resemble like pie crust color. So you got the little bit of golden edges, and then it's brown right on the edge there. So I'm gonna let this cool for a while. And yeah, once they're all cooled, then I will fill them. Okay, so as you can see, they're all cooled. They all came off the parchment just beautifully. They have that nice flat side there, has lots of air pockets in it. They're very light, which is nice. Here's my chilled bag of pumpkin goo. I flipped over all the ones I want to be the bottom shelf, just for so I don't accidentally double stuff a macaron shell. I like when I'm piping for the stuff to be cooler than warmer, just because it's easier to tell. I put about that much on. If you do it too thick, when you bite into it, it kind of splodges everywhere, which is just kind of unpleasant. But if you do too thin, then it's just, there's not enough cookie to filling ratio, which is actually the reason I don't like double stuffed Oreos. There's too much cream, not enough cookie. Regular Oreos, or even the thin Oreos, are fine. But anyway, so, oh, by the way, I did try one of the lesser burned ones. They actually taste fantastic still. They're just more like a crunchy cookie rather than a macaron shell. So I'm not even gonna bother filling those. What I kind of want to do is turn this into a cupcake filling though. It's really tasty. So when I'm putting the top on a macaron shell, I kind of screw it like you screw a cap, just to get it kind of all stuck together. And then you can actually just hold it on its own, and it just makes it a little bit easier to handle. So there you have it, a little plate of pumpkin pie macarons. Actually, in the camera here, they look sort of like spray cheese. I promise they're not spray cheese. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for tagging along on this adventure. If you've made it this far, I'm impressed. Like I said earlier, if you have any questions or if there's anything you'd like me to try and make and take a video while I'm doing it, I guess, just let me know in the comments. And yeah, have a great day. Remember to stay hydrated, take deep breaths, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Cheers, friends. Oh, it's good. I'm a little bit surprised at how good it is. Okay, bye.